Hey guys, it's Mo and I'm finally recording the video that I've been talking about for a while that I wanted to do, and that is, as you can see from the title, a short story recommendations video. So all of the books that I'm going to be mentioning today, and there's just 5 of them, are books that I read this year. So these are going to be my top short story collections from 2019. I've really only gotten into reading short stories recently, I would say within the past year or two. Before, I didn't really know if they were for me or not. You know, I read some that were good, some that were bad. As the case with most of them, what usually happens is not every story you end up liking or connecting to, so sometimes it can be hard to rate the collection as a whole. But of all the ones that I've read this year, these are the ones that have stood out the most to me. I know some people have a really love-hate relationship with short story collections. Some people love them, some people hate them. I find that I do enjoy them for the most part. I like ones where they're all short stories from the same author, but I do also like ones where they're all from every story is from a different author. All of the ones that I'm going to be talking about in this video, except for one, are all by the same author. So let's get straight into them. I'm not going to be talking about them in any particular order. I'm just going to be letting you know what each one is about a little bit and my thoughts on them. If I was more prepared for this, I would have, written down which specific stories in each book were my favorites and my worst, but I didn't think to do that, so we're just gonna go straight into them. The first one is Friday Black by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. Really hope I said that name right. So I read this book back in February and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I'll probably end up just reading a little bit of the description for each of these books because I feel like they just put it way better than I could. So this one is the author's debut collection, and for a debut I thought this book was really good. So there's an amusement park and it lets players enter augmented reality to hunt terrorists or shoot intruders played by minority actors. There's a school shooting and both the victim and the gunman stuck in a shared purgatory, and an author who sells his soul to a many-tongued god. So this book tackles violence and injustice against Black men and women, and it touches a lot on racism and cultural unrest. So this one was good. A really short book, so it doesn't take long to read. That's pretty much the case with all of these books. All of these collections are really short. The next one we have here is probably my favorite cover of all of the ones that I'm going to be showing you guys, and that is Sabrina and Korea by Kali Fajardo-Onstein. I read this short story collection back in June and I gave this one as well 4 stars. I don't really often give short story collections 5 stars. The only way I would was if I gave every story or nearly every story in the collection 5 stars, and that just really doesn't usually happen for me. And this one is this author's debut as well, so another author that I'm going to be looking forward to reading more of in the future. This book features friendships, mother and daughter relationships, the truth about your homeland. It's centered on Latinas of indigenous ancestry, and it shines a new light on the American West. I remember feeling about this book that it really just was for female empowerment, and all the stories take place in Denver, Colorado, so we're seeing the Latin experience in that part of the US. Another short story collection that if you especially are wanting to read maybe during the next Latinx readathon, this is something that I would recommend for that. So remember how I said I very rarely give short story collections 5 stars? Well, the next one I did, and it's called Diary of a Murderer by Young-Ha Kim. This book is a book in translation. The author originally wrote this in Korean and it's been translated into English. I don't read a ton of books that are translated, and especially in short story collections, so this one was different, stood out to me. And also what stood out is this is supposed to be more on the mystery, thriller, horror side of things. This is the only short story collection like that I'm going to be talking about in this video. And like I said, I gave it 5 stars. What this book does right is there's only 4 stories in this book, so I guess it kind of borders on the line of the title story. Diary of a Murderer is just under 100 pages long, so a little bit long for a short story, more in, like I said, the novella range, but because there's only 4, you get a little bit more time in each story, and it doesn't feel like each story is rushed. Each story really feels just complete. And it's the main story, Diary of a Murderer, that really drew me into wanting to read this short story collection in the first place. So we're following this guy who He was a former serial killer and now he's made it to old age and he hasn't been caught or anything, but he is suffering from memory loss. I believe he's like getting dementia or something, and he has a daughter who is dating this guy who he thinks and really believes that the guy is a serial killer as well, but he keeps forgetting everything. So it's just really good. I feel like, once again, like I have like such a bad memory. I can't remember all the stories exactly. So this is one that I know I would like all of these really, but especially this one I want to go back and reread eventually. And I don't remember if I mentioned it, but yeah, I read this one back in April of this year. Next, we have If You See Me, Don't Say Hi by Neil Patel. This one I gave 4 stars, and I read this book back in January, so almost a year from now. So I'm definitely going to need to tell you guys more from the description on the book of what it's about than from my memory, but I just know I remember really enjoying this book. Once again, I don't want to say the synopsises of any of the stories just because they are so short. I don't want to give anything away, but there are 11 stories that are in this collection by Neil Patel, and they almost all, either all of them or almost all of them, feature characters who are first generation Indian Americans. So I really liked that representation that the author brought to the table to make this more of his own story and to talk about experiences that he can relate to. In this book, he really tries to conquer popular stereotypes and stuff, and we're following the stories of different people who fall in love with people who they shouldn't. We're dealing with them betraying people and dealing with different cultural racism things that they have to deal with. A lot of the stories in this collection feature characters who are having to make split-second decisions that really affect their lives. And so once again, as I said about all of these, I really recommend this short story collection. So the last one that I want to talk to you guys about, unfortunately, I do not own a physical copy of. I will put a picture of it on the screen here. I do want to own a physical copy of it. I'm just waiting to come across it, hopefully one of these days, either at Goodwill or Half Price Books or something. And that book is Black Enough, Stories of Being Young and Black in America. So this is the only short story collection, or more of like an anthology, I guess would be maybe the right word, because all of the short stories in this collection are written by different authors. But the editor and the one who put it all together is Ibiza Boy, who I've read American Street by her, but I know she's had some other books out, I think, as well. What I love about this short story collection, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, was that it features so many different authors, and a lot of them were names and are names that I recognized easily and who I've either read some of their stuff or I have wanted to, but I haven't gotten around to reading something of theirs yet. So we have Justina Ireland, Tochi Onibuchi, Jason Reynolds, Nick Stone, Renee Watson, Ibiza Boy, J. Coles, just to name a few of the authors that are in here. There's a lot that are included in this collection. They are, like the title says, all coming-of-age stories about young Black Americans in America, and it's definitely in the young adult genre. It covers a lot of different backgrounds for all of these teens, from urban and rural, wealthy to poor, mixed race, immigrants. It touches on just so many things with all of these stories. So if you're into short story collections, I feel like this is something that you would like. It's all around just a really diverse book, which right now is just what I'm really in the mood for. I want to read a lot of diverse books. And I feel like with all of these books as well, they are just so diverse, and that's what drew me to them, and then what made me ultimately like them, as well as the author's writing, of course, which is obviously the one thing that when it comes down to it, it comes down to how well the author can write. But when they're coming from a diverse perspective, I guess, it just makes me love the books even more. So those are my top 5 short story collections that I've read this year. Let me know if you guys have read any this year that you would recommend to me, or if you've read any of these that you've enjoyed as well. We can talk about it in the comments below. And that's it for this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!